Trees for Zambia is an indigenous tree nursery located on the outskirts of Lusaka. This remarkable nursery, nurtured over many decades by Claire and Adam, along with the dedicated supervision of Mr. Sam, has blossomed into the leading indigenous tree nursery in the city. Today we wander through the nursery to discover the diverse range of trees thriving here and gather valuable knowledge about cultivating our own green companions in the vicinity of our homes.
Hi, Nick here at Greenspace, and here we are with Claire from Trees for Zambia, and we're in the nursery. We're going to have a little bit of a tour around, see what they're doing, and hopefully learn some tips about growing trees. Can you explain a little bit about what Trees for Zambia does and how people can get in touch with you?
Trees for Zambia, well, we started about 25 years ago. I think Sam was much younger, I was much younger, and we started just collecting seeds from the bush and giving them to Sam, saying, grow them. And then we woke up one day and we had a whole host of trees down here. So it started like that about 25 years ago, and it's grown as interest has grown in planting and planting indigenous trees in all sorts of situations. So it's grown from really nothing.
Yeah, more of that kind of home interest to plant more around your place, but then having that extra.
Exactly, having extra and people being interested. So our sort of the core people who are really interested in having indigenous trees on their plots would come and buy a few trees and put them there. And also the late Mike Bingham was very supportive of us and gave us trees and gave us seeds and had a very good repertoire with us here.
Yeah, he was quite the grower as well.
Yeah, he was a grower, and so we've planted a lot on our property here, but now we grow them for sale because there is an interest, and the interest is growing amongst landscapers.
Oh, really?
And will be great for us because, for example, a landscaper was doing all the hospitals up in Mfui and up in Lundade and Luapula province, all around Kitwe, and he bought all his trees from us.
Nice.
And they were nice big trees. So that's what we need, is more of that. We also, people like Bonanza, Mark O'Donnell, he was persuaded to use indigenous trees on Bonanza Golf Course rather than palms, because he was going to put palms up the main drag there. And someone said, no, you must use blah, blah. So he bought a load of Kaya Nassicas, and they are fantastic. Red mahoganies, they're not called Kaya. And
oh, yeah. The name change on that as well.
And they're fully grown trees, and it's a very, very good example. And then he also bought a load of acacias and put them all over the place. So he's been a great supporter of indigenous trees. So.
And is it that you see the kind of same trees that are being planted? Are these generally the easier ones, or are people kind of getting a huge variety?
I think it depends. For example, the hospitals, they had sort of core Natal mahoganies because they are very good to grow in a sort of semi-urban context.
They do well as a street tree as well.
As a street tree, for shade in hospitals, but for the people to sit and wait and stuff. But I mean, on Bonanza and other big places like that, there are a huge selection of trees.
Oh, good.
And actually, for having said that about the hospitals, that contract also, we sent a lot of different trees and a lot of indigenous shrubs. So we also grow indigenous shrubs because people come and say, well, I want to block my neighbour, I want to block a wall. Here we're trying to block this wall. So we're growing a lot of indigenous shrubs that kind of block out and are fairly weedy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put them in a small garden, but in this sort of context, we've put Combritum ovavatum all along that wall, which will sort of scramble.
Sprawl over it, and do these then, can they be kind of trimmed into a hedge, or is it just more of a wild?
I think you could. We don't. We've got them outside the wall along the road, and they're very beautiful when they flower. They don't look like anything now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, most things don't. They need to be in the ground for a year or two to really pick up.
So we are doing more and more shrubs. The other, the Oncoba spinosa, which is what they call it, the fried egg plant, bush. I don't know what the other.
It's the little shakers.
Yeah, with the rattles
dances,
that go around, you know, on the traditional dancers. What do you call it? Rattles, I suppose. They are. I mean, we've trimmed them into a sort of neat bush on the one hand, and on the other hand, we've left them. We can show you some. There's a couple there actually, but they've got no leaves on them at the moment. But they're fabulous.
And they are evergreen too.
They can be.
Okay.
I think if you water them, they can be.
Oh, okay.
But if you don't, we've got them growing in the bush, and they've got no leaves on at the moment. So basically, you know, the difficulty is growing trees not being able to fully anticipate the demand, if you like. So but there's always going to be a demand for these Trichilias and the Chias. So all these are Trichilias all the way from here right to the end.
Are these your best sellers then, effectively?
Well, I think best sellers is what we sell, what I tell people to plant, and you know, so it's just one against the other, isn't it? But these you can't go wrong with. Yes, because they've got a taproot, they form a nice lollipop shape. They've got a dense shade, and they're evergreen.
Do they self-seed for you quite a bit here? Because at my place, they grow everywhere.
I think they are self-seeding now, yeah. But we've got two varieties. We've got the Dragiana, which is the forest one, and we've got the America. The forest one is a much bigger tree, and funnily enough, it was Mike Bingham who said the last tree on the right-hand side at the end of Leopard's Hill Road, at the traffic lights opposite St Mary's, there's one tree that is the Dragiana.
Oh, really?
So, but it's a lovely tree. I can show you a fully grown one. It's a very large, full shade.
Unmistakable when it is of size in the end.
But I haven't seen them growing in the wild. I mean, I suppose they grow up in northern. They grow up. I
have seen them up near Lake Tanganyika. Growing in kind of riverine scenarios around there. And lovely trees, but at that stage, when so much other vegetation is around them, you don't get that same kind of shape. They're just much more upright, and, but impressive to come across. Very impressive to come across.
Big. So
just like the Chias.
The Chias.
You know, especially those that used to line the road. Yeah, right by
up to the curriculum centre. They were huge, but apparently they have a lot of Chias in the cover belt along the streets. I wonder how good it is as a street tree, because its roots do that a bit.
Yeah, I remember along the road there you'd see areas where you could see the having pushed up, but considering the size of those trees, it wasn't bad. Actually.
No.
It was just a shame to lose them. But yeah, no, we have a tree of this also planted probably in the early 90s. That is, must be about 15 to 20 meters tall now. They are fast growing.
Well, we've got one over there. We've got one. Where is it? So it's there, and it's just got this wonderful dead straight trunk and a massive canopy. It's a fabulous tree. But I for space and evergreen and fast growing.
Yeah, no, very fast growing. Do you get people asking you about these kinds of galls on the leaf very
they're really bad this time of year. Yes, they're a little insect inside, aren't they?
Nothing to worry about though. I've never, because I have seen some heavy infestations some years, and other years it's almost nothing in the end. But the trees don't suffer too much from it.
It doesn't seem to.
It's just the leaves actually.
Yeah.
The leaves just dry up. I don't know why that is, but Sam has been cutting the leaves. You can't cut all the leaves though, because then it won't grow.
Yeah. But
I suppose this time of year they're quite stressed, aren't they, after the cold and now the heat?
Well, but there's also new growth, so whatever insect is coming out has the ability then to come and land on these new leaves and start the whole cycle again.
There's a little bug inside there.
Yeah. A little kind of, I think it's almost like a larva, worm-like larva, effectively. But it isn't anything to worry about ultimately.
No, I don't think so.
I've never seen. How old would these baobabs then be? Because they are of quite
I
a
would
good size.
say that one, what, about 7, 8 years old?
8 years.
8 years.
I think probably a bit more. I think you forget how time flies.
Is it one of those kinds of scenarios where they take 4 years to get to this size and then all of a
Exactly.
sudden shoot up quite quickly in the end?
So from say 10 years to 1 year, these baobabs go in age.
Going down the,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They're fantastic trees.
Well, they are. And they don't mind being in pots, I don't think. You know, I think they would grow a lot faster in the ground, but
well, because I know I've grown a few baobabs from seed at times, and you'll get some that shoot up really quickly and grow very fast, and then you get others that seem to stay very small.
Yeah,
Have you ever tried bonsaiing some of those small
we've got
ones?
one bonsai up there.
Oh,
up at the house. But a poor thing. I always feel sorry for bonsai trees.
Yeah, it's a bit cruel, but at the same time, they adapt
It's
quite well.
nice. They do adapt well, especially baobabs.
And
This is the
then
Bridelia, which again self-seeds everywhere.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put this on a street, but it's a lovely tree in the garden. It has this, it changes colour just before the...
Yeah, I was going to say, as the dropping leaves, they kind of go a reddish
Yeah, they
tinge,
go
isn't
red.
it?
And they're really beautiful. There's a young one, I saw a young one this morning, and it's just, the sun coming through it was just beautiful, sort of red. So, I mean, that's a lovely, lovely colour.
When out in the bush, sometimes you get that. You'll get that in the fall, but then you also get the new colours coming out.
You get the brachycesias, the flush of the brachycesias.
Coming out now with that kind of brilliant red and
really
stuff
beautiful.
Like that.
And then here we have the Trichilia, the sausage trees. Again, these are quite old. But
only about 2 feet tall.
Only about 2 feet tall. But actually, again, as soon as you put them in the ground, they really shoot up. They take ages to start, I think.
I think they probably take quite a bit of time to put their roots down first, and then kind of take a... It's funny, there seem to be two systems. Those trees that just shoot up right away and try and get the light, and those that take their time putting roots down before, you know, several years later, then deciding to...
And actually there are uses for both, aren't there? I mean, like the Acacia Acantha, the tree you see everywhere on derelict, well, I call it derelict land. The Acacia Acantha comes in as a pioneer tree and goes straight up and then protects the soil and for other things that are slower that come up, and they fix natural stuff. So now here we have the Croton Garcinia.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's even got a local name, but it's beautiful. It's got this beautiful silvery underleaf. It's always green, but always changes colour throughout the season.
And because then it does have a bit of a fall colour too. You can see this kind of orangey leaf.
Yeah.
We've got one of these on the plot, and it is now maybe about 2 to 3 meters tall, and it's coming into its own now. It's looking really, really good.
We've got some big ones around, which we can show you.
What is the kind of height of this? Because I know it's not a large tree.
Well, we've got a very large one there. I mean, I usually tell people in a garden context that gets to about 8 foot.
8 meters?
8 meters.
Yeah, because 8 feet is just about so.
No, 8 meters. So I mean, 8 meters, about the size of a mango tree.
Yeah.
But it has a sort of umbrella shape and shimmery leaves. It's very.
And this would be good for a fairly smaller garden too. Something that's going to give you that kind of shade and
well, a
and
nice dapple shade and and screening and interest. Always interesting.
They're a fantastic tree, I look forward to ours getting bigger ultimately. Whereas the Trichilia is not really very useful for...
And you know what, it's not really happy up here. It's a valley tree, isn't it? It grows in the valley areas and
along rivers and things like that. But we have a tree on our place that is indigenous to the plot. We never planted it.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, it's dying now. They've got some kind of bark issue at the bottom where it's just kind of completely destroyed the bark, so it's now leafless and things like that. But I think it needs a deep soil as well. It couldn't be a shallow soil. So something that's deep enough
Again, it's riverine, isn't it?
Yeah. So these guys they'll be quite happy in a garden that's watered
Yes.
year round.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful of the fruits because those can
Yes.
cause damage. You don't want parking lot underneath the
No,
fruits
you certainly
of these,
don't.
isn't it?
But it's got a lovely flower. And always lots of interest. Yeah, so those are the sausage trees, these are the crotons. Those are all the baobabs going right the way down to the little babies over there.
Ooh, is this what is this Albizia Adanthofolia? Yeah. This is a lovely tree.
It's beautiful. It's again very shimmery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think these are best enjoyed when you have that mature tree.
Yeah.
And you see the leaves just
Yeah.
the way that, and they're surprisingly are evergreen effectively.
Yes.
I've done some work up near Solwezi in the middle of October, and this is the one that has
Yeah.
actually the most shade at that time of year.
Lovely.
Just stunning trees.
And it's quite fast, isn't it? Once you get it, once it's in the ground. I can't remember where we found those seeds. Oh, Mr. Frost, yeah.
From just around here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Frost is a
lovely.
bit of a tree collector. He has, so we do beg him. But we always have to give him something in return, which is fine.
Yes. Well, that's the kind of the
That's
nice
the
thing
thing,
about it
isn't
is
it?
to trade, isn't it?
Yeah,
effectively?
exactly. So now we're coming here into the acacias. These are the smaller trees, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's
Now,
a Siberiana.
Acacias are very quintessential to
Yeah.
kind of the African
Yeah.
savanna and other environments like that. I usually think of them as pioneer trees, but is that kind of a wrong assumption?
I would say the Polyacantha definitely is.
Yeah.
Probably the Garcinia is also, both very fast growing,
Yeah.
sometimes hard to tell apart. But Siberiana is much slower, the Tortilis is slower, and lives longer.
Long-lived, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Siberiana is that sort of wonderful sort of shape.
Umbrella,
tree.
the umbrella
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of thing, yeah. And produces...
And the Tortilis as well. Tortilis is an absolutely classic umbrella acacia. Again, we've got some in the garden, and I rue the day that we planted one between the swimming pool and the house, because every time I walk under it with bare feet, I get a thorn in there.
Yeah.
So, and also, if you've got kids running around, you don't really want some acacias on the lawn, but they're great for birds, they're great for colour.
And
great
bees,
for
I imagine,
bees.
too.
Yeah.
That flush of flowers that
Yeah.
it'll be happening soon, too,
It will
effectively.
be. In fact, I saw an acacia flowering in town the other day. But the karoo is especially good for bees.
Is it, what are they called? The sweet
Sweet thorn, I think it's called.
yeah, something like that.
And it grows a lot in cattle ground, doesn't it? It's kind of, it seeds itself.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are well suited to growing with game and livestock, because the cattle will eat the pods, they'll eat the leaves,
Yeah.
all sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
Because I actually grow Siberiana specifically for the pods to feed my goats,
Oh,
effectively.
do you?
Yeah.
And also the acacias, most of the acacias fix nitrogen, they're leguminous. And they're very useful to the farming world, and most especially, well, it's not an acacia, it's a Fadeherbia, it's the winter
Yes.
thorn. It used to be an acacia. The winter thorn they use in conservation farming.
Yeah.
And if you go down the Leopards Hill Road right to the end and turn right by the school there, you can see quite good examples
Oh, really?
of the Fadeherbia being used.
Where they've actually put them in the grid pattern.
Yeah,
And,
and
okay.
they're ploughing with the oxen between.
Oh, nice.
It's a good example.
I've seen that up at a Gart along the Great North
Yes,
Road
well, that
as well.
was their demonstration plot
Yeah.
all those years back.
Yeah.
I mean, about 30
Oh, it's
years.
been been a long time. Those trees are sized
And
up
they're
very
slow
nicely.
Fadeherbias. I think they're really slow. Anyway.
But they're long-lived, so
They're long-lived,
it's
and
the
they're
tortoise,
beautiful.
It's the tortoise system. You
yeah.
know, take your time, but you'll get there eventually, and you'll stay a long
I mean,
time.
they are long-lived, and they're unique, aren't they? Because they drop their leaves
As the rains begin.
as the rains begin. and so the crop underneath can grow, and then they have leaves when it's dry, and that's it.
And protect the ground, and it's a very interesting habit for a tree to take, where you leafless during the rains and then grow your leaves in the dry season.
And fantastic for farmers.
So here I see we've got some figs.
These are all the ficus species.
Oh, you have many mixed together in here.
Well, no, I think these are. This is sycamore, Ficus sycamorus, sycamore fig.
The biblical fig.
The biblical fig. Well, is it? And the boo-boo. Now the sycamore is very indigenous to Zambia.
Yeah.
And you see it everywhere. But the boo-boo is indigenous to Malawi, and again, Mike Bingham bought us a few seeds and and he said, you'll never grow them because the moth doesn't occur here. But yes, we've got one big tree on the lawn. But yes, Sam noticed that the droppings from the bats on the ground, the trees were beginning to germinate, so we can now grow boo-boos. But I would not recommend.
Made its way.
The wasp made its way. I wouldn't recommend this unless you've got a very large garden, because it is a massive tree.
It looks quite from the size of some of these leaves, which are almost 30 centimeters long, effectively. Do they get bigger than that as well, or?
Not really, but they have all their fruit along the branches, which is quite interesting.
And edible by us, or?
No.
Edible? No. Okay.
No.
I have tasted some indigenous figs that are less than ideal.
No, I don't think they're very tasty.
The taste is not there usually.
No.
So these do get very, very big.
They get enormous, and their roots. If the tree was here, the roots would almost reach that wall.
Okay, so these are for very large properties.
Very large properties, and a specimen tree.
Yeah.
And then these are...
Great for an arboretum then.
Great for an arboretum. In fact, we just plant some. Oh, then we mix in an Almara. How big is your Almara there? Again, a nice tree. And
then this is the Bucii again, you say?
I think it's Zanzibarica, isn't it?
Zanzibarica, okay.
Yeah.
I think this is the one that I tasted once. Large brown figs.
Yeah.
I think bats enjoy them more, and that humans are not meant to enjoy these, because I spit it out pretty quickly.
The Bucii are... The Bucii are lovely. The Zambezi fig.
And all your figs are grown from seed. You're not growing...
Every tree here is grown from seed.
Oh, okay.
Every single tree here is grown from seed.
Because with figs, a lot of people would do truncheons.
Truncheons, I know. I think it would be quicker to do truncheons. And actually, also, we've missed it now. There was the erythrina, I think, we should do from truncheons, because they're so slow. Beautiful, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But
it's funny too. I think you see in villages where people have put up crawls or things like that, and all of a sudden it's taken and grown. And yet sometimes we try it ourselves and it just doesn't work.
No,
and that's incidental that they are growing it just for another means and things like that.
That one started its figs on the, you see here?
Oh, okay, yes.
Figs on the, I think that's the...
You're going to have to bend it down a little bit to...
Shumanania. Where's that indigenous to? I don't think here.
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Mike was the fundi for figs.
He was.
Mike was the proper fundi fig fundi, sorry.
Yeah, no, these are the Garcinia. I just think it's interesting the way the branches sort of go perpendicular.
I planted a gardenia that I grew from seed, 10 years ago, and it's only about this tall now.
Really?
It's one of those that seemed to take 4 or 5 years at the same size, probably growing its roots. And only in the last little while has it decided.
I don't know, when did we plant these?
About 3 years now.
Yeah.
Well, they're in big bags.
Yeah, they've got a good root run.
Yeah. And these are more ficus species here. And then
Another acacia.
More acacia. These are fever trees. So
okay.
fever trees are not actually indigenous to Zambia. They're the green bark acacia.
Yeah, the one that they plant a lot around parking lots and
but
things
they
like
love
that.
it, you know, landscapers love it because they're so fast and people like it, and why not?
It does have the bark interest and things like that as well.
And I think they're more valuable than the other one that people like, which is also not indigenous, the one with the flaky.
Oh yes, yeah, xantho something. Starts with a Z or with
This is
a X.
Xanthophyllia. This is Xanthophyllia.
Oh, this one is Xanthophyllia.
Oh, I can't remember. I'll remember it in a minute. It's the trouble with
It's not indigenous. It's not.
No.
It's not important.
No. And then finally we have the tremor. Again, this is another pioneer tree, and actually this also probably spreads.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
But it has a great umbrella shape, and it's a fantastic shade tree, and it's fast growing.
Yeah. Usually those that do grow very fast tend to be pioneers.
Yeah.
It won't give you much in the way of flowers, though, if I recall, based on the family.
What is the family?
Celtidaceae.
Probably not.
No, I think they're kind of small and insignificant. So this one would be then more grown for its shade and shape rather than giving any kind of any great floral display.
Yeah, no floor. Yes, you wouldn't grow it for. You would grow it for quick shade.
Yeah. I see you've got a carrot tree
I
in
know,
flower
isn't it
here.
wonderful?
Are you growing carrot trees
No,
as well?
but it's only this time of year we're reminded how lovely they are, and we must grow some more.
They are definitely worth growing.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you a big tree.
No.
You know, it's not something that you're going to have much shade under because of its thing. It's more always kind of scraggly in shape.
But look how it's grown amongst the other tree there.
Well, you've got three different things coming up around the base of the tree.
But it is. I haven't. It's beautiful, and the bees are liking it.
The bees absolutely love them.
So we must grow more, Sam.
Well, you'll have plenty of seed. I see plenty of seeds starting to develop on
And they are all over the arboretum.
Yeah, they tend to sow themselves quite readily.
Yeah.
If you do have animals, grazers, you won't have this around because they usually completely take it away. I have to protect my goats, or have to protect this from my goats at my place. And at Lilai Lodge, I have not found any of them because they're just browsed by the game there effectively.
Oh, are they?
So it's highly sought after on that side of it, but they are
Look at it
stunning.
covered in bees.
Yeah. No, they're stunning trees. And slow growing as well. It's going to take quite a while to get to this size.
Well, you'll see when we get to the arboretum, you'll see some of them coming up. But we have had cows through there, we have had horses through there, and so it's only the last 3-4 years we haven't. So,
I think horses will be less problematic than cows. And
they just destroy the ground. So we could go up now. Oh, here's some Bauhinia there. Careful, sorry. The Bauhinia, again, this is a great street tree and has been used in Lusaka as a.
This is which species of Bauhinia?
Isn't it?
Is this?
Urbiana, it's the white one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, which is more than kind of a shrub.
Yeah.
And,
well, it gets quite big. You know, by the FedEx roundabout, if you go straight across.
Yeah.
There's a row of them there, and there's a row by the Lusaka Club on the road towards Taba and Becky. And they're nice. They're very pretty. They're very neat.
Well, they are very ornamental. The flowers are quite lovely on them. What I have found with some of my neighbors, though, is the pods are quite explosive.
Yes.
And you end up with seedlings quite a distance away from where the actual plant was.
But they're not difficult to get rid of, are they? I mean, it's like...
No, you can just pull them when the ground is wet, mind you. You can't pull it when it's dry because they definitely will not come. Oh, and you've also got the marula growing, I see here.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, that has to be something of a little bit more of a difficulty because getting the nut to germinate is quite difficult, isn't it? But again, this gets into a fairly large tree. You'd need to give this quite a bit
Yeah,
of
you
space,
would.
effectively.
Yeah.
Have you been able to grow mungungo? No,
He's
that
tried.
one's still, yeah. I'm quite impressed that you've got
Well, only a few.
Acacia.
And then these are the Trichilias.
Yeah.
They are the Trichilia africana.
Quincaloba.
Oh, this is Quincaloba here.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is,
always much stouter. Quincaloba is very strong, whereas the Africana is a much slenderer plant, I think.
That was behind there.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, this is quite stout for the
so the Quincaloba, Trichilia quincaloba, is the ghost tree that people see as they go down the escarpment towards Siavonga on the right hand side. They really stand out.
any escarpment areas in
Any
Zambia.
escarpment areas.
I remember
And
when
we're finding it more and more difficult to find seed because they're chopping them all out and making them into planks.
Really?
Yeah, isn't it? We go down there at this time of year to look for seed, and there's hardly any left.
Do you grow any of the northern riverine species of Sterculia?
No.
Trigocantha, subviolacea?
No.
Okay.
Well, we don't have the seed, but we must collect the seed.
It's always difficult to be there at the right time for seeds to be shed effectively, because they are so vastly different from the escarpment types, which don't have the lovely bloom or peeling bark, but then have leaves that are not lobed at all. They're just nice elliptic shapes and stuff.
I mean, the leaves of these are like the size of...
Bigger than dinner plates.
Much bigger. They're like a big umbrella.
I've got one planted in the yard. It's maybe about this big, and yeah, the leaves on that are at least like that at the time. But does this need a large space then, or?
Well, not really, but I mean I don't think so. The roots I think go straight down.
Okay, so it's not going to affect near building or anything like that.
And most of the year it's just a white stick.
Yeah.
It's just flowering now and seeding. It seems to flower and seed at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic trees.
And then
oh, you got Garcinia.
Garcinia.
This is Livingstonii. Livingstonii. Yeah, I always say Livingstoniana for some reason, even though it's Livingstoniana.
Well,
on the knobthorn there.
Horrible knobthorn.
Is it? Yeah, I know it as the African mangosteen as well, effectively.
Yes.
Now, do you have a fruiting plant on property?
Yeah, well, actually we do. We have one.
And is it a good tasting fruit?
It is nice.
It is nice, okay.
Have you tried planting it?
Yes, I don't know that some of it.
From that tree?
Yes.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
And they are evergreen as well. So regardless, they'll stay nice and deep green.
Yeah.
Again, I found this to be one that when you plant it in the ground, it takes a number of years staying that same size, and then finally, after about 4 or 5 years.
It's got that nice sort of shape, a straight up sort of shape, hasn't it?
Yeah, kind of like
which gardeners quite like.
or something. Yeah.
Gardeners like that shape. I don't know why.
Yes, it would be well behaved by their rationale.
Exactly. Here we've got the knobthorn, which is another acacia, but it has, we'll see later, it has the most
interesting thorn.
Interesting bark. Knob.
You can kind of see them starting to develop.
Yeah.
On this little
certainly
young one
here. Yeah, here. And a slightly different shape leaf from the normal acacia.
Yeah, very few leaflets on it too, actually, by comparison.
Yeah.
I actually just recently planted a few of these along my fence line to start my living wall fence there.
Oh, God, that's a good idea.
And I'm interested to see how they will do over the next few years. I'm actually going to try doing the English method though of slashing it, bending them down,
layering.
So you can try and get that actual proper, well, in this case it'll be a Zambian hedgerow, but the English hedgerow style kind of scenario.
Gosh.
I'll have to wear heavy gloves, I think.
No, but I mean, those hedgerows in England have got blackthorn and may, and they're incredibly thorny.
Yeah. Well, you needed thorns to keep the cattle and things like that.
And the sheep too. When you're making your living hedge, what are you doing? You're planting the tree and then cutting it?
No, I've just planted them this year.
And then you're going to layer it.
I'll let it grow this year so it gets established.
Yeah.
And then in the next few years, like from a central branch, what I'll try and do is cut and then layer down branches as they go effectively to develop a space. Because I planted them almost on 2 meter spacing between, so I want to fill that in over time. But because I'm then trying to interlay different species within it, I'll have to kind of work and see how it all works out with adapting to that method. There might be some that don't, there might be some that do, so it's an experiment in the time being.
No, I think it'd be very interesting to know how it goes. We tried it, but we didn't persevere.
Perseverance is key for everything.
We didn't, I know, it is. So basically, this is, well, we got more over here.
So all of these trees are available for anybody who wants to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So they vary in price from the babies, which are...
Well, something like this little Acacia
is 100.
Yeah, so this is a fairly young 1 or 2 year old.
2 years, 2 to 3 years old in that size pot.
And then the same thing roughly with the
those ones.
Trichilia
Those are smaller pots. Yeah. And then as the pots get bigger, the price goes up.
Yeah, because I see just to the right here, these Trichilias are
much bigger pots.
A good year or two older than the others.
They're like 3 or 4 years old.
What is the maximum age that you sell a tree roughly?
Well, I mean the baobabs are, you know.
Yes, but like you say, baobabs can do quite well in a pot for a while. I can imagine that's going to be different for things like the Trichilia or for the Acacia, which
they then put their roots into the ground.
Yeah, see, you've got plastic down to, but it still goes through the plastic. You know, the roots do not just stop and say, no, you don't want us to grow.
No.
They continue to push.
I suppose, I don't know. I mean, when they get sort of past their eat-by date, we kind of
figure out a way of putting them somewhere.
Either planting them around here or sort of at sale price, you know.
Yeah. Do you do a bit of a spring sale kind of scenario?
Yeah, we will probably do one at the beginning of this planting season. Yeah. Because really, people, you know, you can start planting now if you've got water.
Yeah.
But if you haven't got water, don't even think of it.
Yeah.
You plant after the first rains when the ground is quite soft, and plant until, I don't know, middle of February, end of February.
Yeah, as the rains are going to be starting to taper off then. Yeah. I usually prefer to get all of mine in at this time of year, give it water until the rains come, and then let it be effectively. And at that point, they've got a bit of a head start on the grass, because where I am is Mungo woodland, so I deal with tall grass effectively. So anything needs to be able to grow quickly. Do you then suggest watering into the first dry season as well?
We do,
Yeah, just to give it that kind of bit of extra help, I suppose, an extra leg up.
Well, yes, I mean, if you don't, in some scenarios, it's not a train smash. And you would lose maybe 10%, 15%. But for example, down at what's the name? Los Angeles Boulevard, we planted, I don't know, 8 or 9 Trichilias outside the Irish ambassador's residence, and they really looked after those trees, and they're fabulous. And then the EU were guilted. No, I mustn't say that. They also wanted to continue the line down, and there was a change of staff, and the person who was keen and got it all organised and talked to the gardener to water them left, and someone else came, and we noticed, oh, they're all dying. So they need, in that scenario, they definitely need watering. On the edge of a main road, they were already quite big. I
can imagine the heat and everything from that location.
They were the biggest, you know, the biggest ones we've got. And you know, they're definitely still looking a bit stressed, but they assure us now they're watering them. We might have to go and replace 1 or 2. But I mean, that's a sort of, you know, that's a long-term project, and in 50 years' time, we'll see Sam and Lovemore will see that avenue of Trichilias, and their children will see it. My dad planted those trees, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I relish actually a number of the trees that my dad had planted
Yeah.
at our place too,
Yes.
because it is a connection to
Yeah.
his time at the
Yeah.
farm.
Yeah,
effectively.
exactly.
And yeah, trying to make one's own mark now and planting all sorts of different things
Yeah, yeah,
about.
I know.
And
Because it certainly is a, you know, long-term thing.
it is, yeah, no, none of this is doing it for the short term. You
No.
plant a tree for
No.
your children or your children's children,
Yeah,
effectively,
exactly.
going down
Yeah.
the line. So.